Shut the up. I don't give a dude. Look at this. Look at this. He's fighting a professional boxer.
Joe Rogan didn't hold back after Jake Paul decided to back out of the fight with Mike Tyson. It feels like Jake's been trying to dodge a bullet, and maybe he finally did. Everyone is stunned, but Joe saw this coming. He's been vocal about how ill-advised this fight was from the start. "Don't tangle with Tyson," he warned. Welcome again to Mike Tyson Insight. Today we taking a look at what happened recently between Jake Paul and Iron Mike and how Joe Rogan reacted to it. Let's see. Jake, in his relentless pursuit of fame, ignored the warnings. Now that Jake has officially quit, Joe's ready to unleash his fury. Many have disliked Jake since he first challenged Mike, and even more so when he disrespected Mike and his family. But Joe Rogan, he's been critical of the Paul brothers from the get-go. Joe's never been shy about his disdain. Joe's criticism of the Paul brothers is both fierce and straightforward. He's questioned their place in combat sports, calling them opportunists in it for the fame and money rather than any genuine love for the sport. Joe once labeled Jake Paul the biggest manipulator in boxing, and it's hard to argue with that. Jake's rapid ascent in boxing is viewed by Joe and others as a carefully planned spectacle. Jake's opponents seem to be chosen to ensure his victory. It's like stacking the odds in his favor, and Joe finds this deeply unsettling.
I don't give a if you think he's 55 years old. That guy will hurt you.
Yeah.
If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition.
Yeah.
He's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson.
Joe's issues with Jake go beyond personal dislike. He believes Jake is harming boxing's reputation by fighting non-boxers or those well past their prime. Jake's keeping his win record pristine, but Joe argues that this misleads fans about Jake's true abilities and disrespects the sport. Floyd Mayweather also remarked that as long as Jake fights MMA guys and YouTubers, he'll look good. But a real fighter? That's a different story. Joe has consistently criticized Jake for these tactics, fighting former MMA fighters, YouTubers, and retired athletes instead of actual boxers. It's like building a house on a weak foundation, and Joe is having none of it. He's used his podcast to scrutinize Jake's fight history, pointing out inconsistencies and questioning the legitimacy of his victories. Joe's taken it upon himself to uphold boxing's integrity. There are numerous accusations of fixed matches and staged fights against Jake Paul. Critics, especially Joe Rogan, aren't buying into Jake's undefeated record. It's like a shiny apple with a rotten core. One glaring example was Jake's fight against Ben Askren on April 17, 2021. Askren, known more for wrestling than striking, was knocked out in the first round. Many, including Joe, saw it as a setup resembling a scripted WWE match. The controversy doesn't end there. On August 29, 2021, Jake fought Tyrone Woodley, another MMA fighter past his prime. Despite being a former UFC champ, Woodley wasn't a boxer. Their rematch on December 18, 2021 ended with another knockout for Jake, fueling further speculation. Critics noted that these fighters were chosen for their fame, not their boxing skills. It's like hiring a washed-up band to boost your image. Joe Rogan has been vocal about these issues on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. On the October 25, 2021 episode, Joe expressed skepticism about Jake's victories and the caliber of his opponents. He said fighting non-boxers or those past their prime is like padding your stats in a video game on easy mode. It distorts public perception and, in Joe's eyes, devalues the sport. Joe firmly believes Jake Paul is exploiting the system for fame and money, turning boxing into a sideshow, and on May 15, 2022, Joe intensified his critique, condemning the way Jake's fights are marketed. He argued that true boxers earned their reputation through years of tough competition, not by cherry-picking easy wins. Joe's relentless criticism has kept this debate alive, ensuring everyone views Jake's career with a critical eye. The announcement on March 10, 2024 that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson were set to fight was a bombshell. Reactions were mixed. Jake's and Tyson's fans were ecstatic, while seasoned boxing enthusiasts were skeptical. They questioned the legitimacy and motives behind the fight. Joe was quick to react, comparing the fight to Mike's past matches, suggesting Jake wouldn't stand a chance against the Tyson who fought Marvis Frazier. It promised massive viewership and revenue, but Joe saw it as a farce. "This isn't a real boxing match, folks. It's a spectacle," he proclaimed. Joe's skepticism was well-founded. In a candid ESPN interview on March 12, 2024, Joe called Jake Paul a marketing genius and controversy magnet, but doubted his boxing credentials. He believed the fight with Tyson was more about headlines and money than boxing prowess. Joe didn't stop there. Across various media, he reiterated his point. On April 2, 2024, he criticized the fight setup, calling it a media circus meant to generate buzz and money. Joe couldn't accept that Jake, with his limited boxing experience, could seriously challenge a legend like Mike Tyson. He saw the whole affair as feeding Jake's controversial image, not contributing to boxing. Behind the scenes, Joe Rogan reached out to Jake Paul to warn him about the dangers of fighting Mike Tyson. On March 15, 2024, sources say Joe called Jake to advise him. Can you imagine that conversation? Joe likely said, "Fighting Tyson is like wrestling a grizzly bear. Even if he's older, he can still knock you out." Joe emphasized the physical and mental challenge of fighting Tyson, who still possesses deadly power. Joe didn't just stop with a private warning. He went public with his concerns on the Joe Rogan Experience on March 18, 2024. He addressed Jake directly, warning about the real dangers. In an interview with MMA Fighting on March 20, 2024, Joe expressed his worries. "I fear for Jake. Tyson might be older, but he's still a threat. One wrong move and Jake could get seriously hurt." Joe's words, coming from someone with vast martial arts experience, carried significant weight. But Jake didn't heed the warning. On March 22, 2024, Jake posted a video on YouTube dismissing Joe's concerns and boasting about his readiness to fight Tyson. This arrogance only fueled Joe's frustration. On his March 25, 2024 podcast, Joe's exasperation was clear. "If I were Jake Paul, I'd be terrified," he said. Joe went to great lengths to protect Jake from himself, but Jake's focus was on the spotlight and money. Meanwhile, Mike Tyson's health had been a concern leading up to the fight. In early 2024, Tyson revealed he was dealing with severe back problems and joint pain affecting his training. Even legends have their limits. These health issues complicated his preparation for the fight. Joe Rogan's reaction to Tyson's health news was immediate. On January 15th, he expressed deep respect and concern for Tyson. "Mike is a legend, and it's hard to see him struggle. His health should come first," Joe said, his admiration for Tyson evident. Joe's concern wasn't just about the fight, it was about Tyson's overall well-being. On June 10th, 2024, Joe visited Tyson in Las Vegas after news of Tyson's health issues surfaced. According to sources, Joe's visit was a genuine show of support. He wanted to understand Tyson's struggles and offer his friendship. This contrasted sharply with Jake Paul's approach, focused more on the fight's fame and fortune. When Jake Paul backed out of the fight with Mike Tyson, it was like a bomb going off. On June 15, 2024, sports networks and social media exploded. ESPN broke the news at 10 a.m., sending shockwaves through the sports world. Fans who had eagerly awaited the showdown were stunned, and the media pounced on the story. Joe Rogan's reaction was swift and fierce. Within an hour, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience expressing his outrage. "This is a cowardly move," he said. "Jake Paul has shown his true colors today, and it's disgraceful." Joe didn't hold back, lambasting Jake for wasting everyone's time and tarnishing boxing's reputation. "Jake Paul is a fraud," Joe declared. "He built up all this hype, got everyone invested, and now he's backing out. It's all about the money and fame for him, not the sport." Joe's disappointment and anger were palpable. For him, Jake's withdrawal was a betrayal of boxing's integrity. Joe remained adamant that Tyson would seek payback and that the fight would eventually happen. "It counts on their professional record, so it's a professional fight," In one of his harshest comments, Joe said, "Jake Paul has made a mockery of boxing. This isn't a game, it's a sport with a rich history and real athletes. Today he proved he's not one of them." Joe's intensity was unmatched, his words cutting deep. Joe continued to criticize Jake. "Jake Paul talks big, but when it comes down to it, he's just a pretender. Backing out of a fight with Mike Tyson shows he never had the courage or respect for this sport." Joe's words were like a wrecking ball to Jake's credibility, aiming to expose what he saw as a facade built on manipulation. So, what's your take? Has Joe Rogan nailed it? If you think Joe's right, show some love in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.